right, back again. Geechee, what's about to happen?
So right now we're about to bring up Sister ML. Y'all seen her a couple times for multiple reasons of the work that she's doing. She's going to be talking about a brother, Sam Randolph, who was wrongfully convicted in 2003 and sentenced to the death penalty. He was also exonerated in 2022. And also, before that, he was assaulted in 2009 by some law enforcement, or pigs, shall we call them. And we're going to talk about that. So, ML, tell us what you got going on. If Sam is going to join us too as well.
And welcome back.
Thank you all. Good morning. And Sam should be here. He should be in the waiting room now. He was incarcerated for 20 years, so he is getting used to technology. But we've been messaging, so he told me he was logging in. So he should be on his way. But again, good morning, you all, and thank you for having me this morning. I'll say everybody but Diallo. Diallo be talking too much shit about St. Louis, and I be feeling some type of way.
Anytime, dog. Anytime y'all St. Louis, Kansas City all day. I'm KC. Anytime y'all want to come on up that I-70 highway and settle this beef, we ready.
All right. Last week you said something, and I texted Geechee. I said, tell him I said fuck him, but sorry. But yeah, definitely.
Hey, welcome. We're always happy to have you say that to his face right here, live and direct.
Listen. I don't be set tripping. If y'all just stop fronting like St. Louis is the premier city of Missouri, we just give us our props.
Okay, sounds good.
For barbecue, baseball, jazz. I'm sick of everybody talking about St. Louis when Kansas City really is the premier city.
Stop.
We even got better racism than y'all.
Now, wait a minute. I don't look now. I mean,
see, you're stuttering now. You're stuttering now. Don't put me in front of no St. Louis. Why we bringing St. Louis? Have we had a Kansas City person on here yet?
I got people in KC. My people was here last week. I got people over there.
Okay,
now,
we got that. Just represent. You got to represent. Come on.
But racism. I don't know. I will not talk about racism.
We give y'all a run for the money.
It's bad. But thank you all for having me. I appreciate it. So I definitely appreciate it very much. So last week, somebody sent me a GoFundMe, and I read it, and it upset me very much. First of all, this man was wrongfully convicted, and that's bad enough. But then, he was, and you called them law enforcement, Geechee. They ain't law enforcement. They the prison, race soldiers, as we like to call them. So, they abused him pretty badly. And when I was reading, I was thinking to myself, where is community? Now, Sam is from Philly. So, of course, and actually, interesting enough, about 3 weeks ago, Mike Africa Jr. was here in St. Louis. And he did a premiere of his documentary here. We had a discussion. But I was thinking when I read the GoFundMe, where is community? Where is the people in Philly, Pennsylvania? Where the niggas at? You know what I'm saying? That's every question. Anybody present a problem to me, I'm always trying to figure out where the black people at. Are they represented? Are they involved? Are they being listened to? Are they being centered? It don't even matter what the discussion is. I'm always trying to figure out where the black folks at. And so I reached out to Sam, and we spoke, and I really want to help him to be able to walk again. He was exonerated, but he's still trapped. He's still in prison, and right now it's in his own body. And so I really wanted to amplify his story. I started putting it out there to some people, to some media, trying to get some attention behind it, because the attorneys who are amazing, that got him out of prison and got him exonerated after almost 20 years, they did connect with a doctor who will operate on him. However, he need other support. You know what I'm saying? It's more than just the surgery. He needs his people. He needs community. He needs to be able to heal. And so that's why I really wanted to start putting his story out and talking overall about our people and when they come out of these prisons. I mean, I know Geechee and I know somebody, Diallo and I know somebody in common, a guy named Ricky Kidd. Ricky was incarcerated for 23 years. And when he got out too, he was struggling. He was wrongfully convicted. He was exonerated in 2018, if I'm not mistaken, or 2019. And he struggled as well with many, many issues. And so it's when our people come out of these institutions, especially the ones that are innocent in the system, railroaded anyway, where are we at? What are we going to do? Like, they come out with nothing for the most part. And it's just really a sad situation. And most of us don't even know these things are happening. So I just kind of wanted.
Well, I just was going to mention, like, when Ricky went in, he was healthy and fit and came out with like type 2 diabetes. A lot of brothers come out of those jails because of the quality of the food, the lack of sanitation. And I know we always joke about how inmates come out swole and very fit, but there's a big difference between fit and health that I don't think we understand. So yeah, that is something when people come out, not just the societal obstacles, but many brothers come out with chronic diseases, infections, blood-borne illnesses, and things of that nature, STDs. So did
we lose ML? Let me.
She looks frozen.
Yeah, I think she's frozen.
Let me give her a chance to come on back. But no, all of those are good points. Even that last one, I think in general, it's a problem, or at least for maybe, I don't know about today, but in my generation, certainly there was a problem with how we approach the gym, and this idea that if we just put some muscle on, we healthy.
Yeah.
And no. So yeah.
It is definitely. I mean, I worked in a prison infirmary for years, and it is definitely it's a very unhealthy environment in terms of trying to maintain your health and wellness.
Right on. ML, we got you back.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I live in the hood still, so internet's a little funny over here.
So tell us about, is this so once the pigs attacked him, like what was some of the causes? Like what was he doing in the prisons that made them want to attack him? And then what was the answer to the state once he was released? Was there any talks about payment, or like how did they respond to the attacks?
Well, I'll talk about his attack and why they did it. And I mean, of course, the state ain't gonna do nothing. I don't know why you asked that part. But so when I spoke with Sam, like I said, I spoke to him a couple of times so far. We just got acquainted last week. And the conversations that I had with him, I had that question too. Like, what was going on in prison to where they did this? Now, prison's prison, so they do abuse people. But I was told, I mean, there are some extreme cases, and Sam is definitely an extreme case. And so he had told me that basically he was a person who was advocating inside of prisons. I love to hear when our people are in those situations and they're speaking up for themselves and others. They're trying to hold the system accountable as much as they can. That's something that I did as well. And so he was inside, he was helping the brothers, file complaints, look up, legal resources and those sorts of things. And whenever you're trying to spread knowledge, help people, help yourself, the system don't like that. And he had explained to me that the guards, the staff did not like him. And when you're on death row in Pennsylvania, you're in basically administrative segregation. And when you go out to the yard, which is, a caged area outside, you're handcuffed. And they took him out to the yard one particular day. He was handcuffed. And when they started to walk him out, I believe one of the officers kicked him in the back and made him fall. And basically they beat him. They basically knocked him down and beat him severely in his back area, which caused the injuries to where he cannot walk today. So he has some, and of course, I'm not a doctor, but he has some issues with his spine, and he needs a surgery in order to be able to walk. He is not permanently, a quadriplegic or paralyzed, thankfully, but he was hurt severely enough to where he needs to have corrective surgery on his back in order to be able to walk and to sit up. But that's why they did it. They did it because they didn't like him, because he was a person who, advocated for himself and others. And whenever you do that in prison, you are seen as a problem. And so, they take out their frustration and their anger and their racism on you. And Sam, suffered severely for that. And so that's how and this happened in 2009. So he was exonerated last year. It's almost a year. In April, it'll be a year. But this happened in 2009. So for the last 13 years, 14 years, he was basically in a cell and temporarily paralyzed because they weren't going to do the help him do the surgery. They did, they abused him and left him like that, but they weren't trying to get a spinal surgeon expert to come in and do surgery on him. That's not, they're not going to do that. But so that's what happened. And just even hearing him tell the story is just angering, because it's like a person who is innocent anyway, right? And they're being abused in this manner. And so when they are exonerated, again, they're not actually free. They're still trapped in their own body. Now, as far as what the prison's doing, I do believe that Sam has attorneys who are trying to file suits. I don't know the details of the legal situation. That's not my part, but I do believe that he has attorneys that are, trying to do some litigation. Of course, we know any settlement will take years, so I don't know the process on that right now, where it's at. But he does have some folks who are litigating. But right now, in the interim, Sam will be out of prison for a year next month. And he has not had this surgery because he can't afford it, right? He can't afford so after he was exonerated and let out of prison, his attorneys did find a doctor. So there's a doctor in LA, Los Angeles, who will operate on Sam. And he said he'll do it for free, which is great. He actually put a little video on the GoFundMe. But it's more than just a surgery, right? First of all, you got to get to the LA. He in Philly. That's across the country. And he needs a medical transport because he can't sit in the regular airplane seat. So he needs medical transport. He needs rehab. He needs so many things that he doesn't have the money for. So until he gets the finances to do that, they're not able to do the actual surgery. And just learning that he's been home almost a year and he's still basically paralyzed, not able to move a lot, that's pretty disturbing for me, just because, he should have had the surgery the day after he got out of prison, you ask me, and he should be on his way to recovery, but he's not. He is still struggling. So I, connected with him, like I said, trying to get the word out about his particular case. I made a Bitly link for his GoFundMe because it's easy. When we're trying to get information out, it's easy to do things. So the link is called Help Sam Walk Again. So bit.ly/Help Sam Walk. That's the GoFundMe, but I'm really trying to, like I said, connect with local folks. Like I said, I did talk to Mike, and Mike Africa Jr. is going to be getting involved. So I really want to get community, the East Coast, people in New York, Philly, etc., understanding that this happened to Sam and it's horrible, and it happens to so many other people. Not to that extent, but it happens.
Can you drop the link in the chat? Is that possible? Because the link that when I type it in, it's somehow not working. So I just want to make sure I have it right. bit.ly/Help Sam Walk Again. Bit.ly Help Sam Walk. Yeah, for some reason it's coming up as something wrong, but anyway.
And also, so I know you're not a doctor, obviously, and you said he was in prison in that condition for 13 years, and it's been over a year him being exonerated. 2 questions: is there, the longer this take, is that going to make it harder to actually get corrective surgery? And is it possible that the doctors and equipment or whatever could be brought to Philly, or is it just he has to go out there to LA?
That's the situation that I've been told, right? And I don't know, as far as like the length of time it takes to get the surgery, I'm assuming it's not going to make it worse, because he had been, like you said, in prison for many years before he even got out in the same condition. He has been evaluated by the doctor, so the doctor has said, he can do the surgery and it will be successful. But as far as like them coming to Philly, I guess the doctor is a LA doctor and he wants to do it there. I don't know the logistics on why he can't come to Philly, etc. But that's what Sam has been told, that he would have to get to LA. He would have to have a medical transport, so not just a regular, regular airplane, and also rehab. He's got to have months and months of rehabilitation. So
and it's also licensing. Physicians and facilities and insurance, like you can't go and use another house if you don't have privileges at a facility, because if it's a surgical facility, just doctors can't just go from operating room to operating room. They need to, in order to admit patients, to see patients, and to utilize facilities. I mean, hospitals are administered by accountants and lawyers, not physicians, and so I can't imagine a facility just allowing. It's not as simple as just, okay, just come there and just walk into any random operating room. The logistics.
But also let them be in their comfort zone. You know what I'm saying? Let them be as comfortable as you need to be when you're doing all of that. Like, be in more space.
Well, I mean,
Anyway,
But it is very much a situation on if you can, like I said, privileges at the hospital.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so I do think that, with that doctor being able to do the surgery, that's amazing, right? That's great. But I think that, and when I read it, I was like, okay, great. The doctor's offering the surgery. He's still been home a year and ain't had the surgery yet. So what's going on? You know what I'm saying? That's where I'm at. I'm like, okay, I can do the math. And so it's been a year next month. He's been home. I spoke with him and he just can't, they want to prove the actual surgery until he has the money, saved or together to where he can have everything else that he needs. And so I think that as community, we should come together, but also, and I'm always down for white folk doing what they're supposed to do. So I'm talking to them as well, because they need to throw down, because these are their systems. And, when we talking about reparations, right, there's a whole issue around that. But right now, Sam needs his reparations. And right now it's going to be about getting him, the surgery that he needs. So, connecting with them as well. And I think that, because when he came home last year and, the interim, his attorneys have gotten information out. The Pennsylvania Innocence Project was helping him as well. And that's great. But my question was, do the people in Philly know? Do people in Pennsylvania know? Do people all over, in our urban communities, do we understand what is happening with these particular people when they're exonerated, when they're coming home, when they're struggling? In my state, we have 2 death row exonerees who are suffering and struggling. One of them, last week, his car was wrecked when he came to St. Louis. They actually live in Kansas City. And he came here to do an event, and he drove back home and got in an accident on the highway and wrecked his car. And he's, he got a regular job. He's struggling and suffering. So we have a GoFundMe for him, trying to raise money to get him a car. So our people are so needy right now, especially those people that are coming out these institutions with nothing. We are exonerated. They don't give you nothing out of prison. You ain't on parole. You don't get like sometimes they give you services, right? Employment, help, bus passes, etc. Exonerated, you're not on parole. You know what I'm saying? You don't come out the system attached to them whatsoever. They don't monitor you. You don't go see a PO. So you don't have anything. And that's something that we need to change in this country, especially within the system, but also our people. People don't understand how easy it is to get wrongfully convicted and the struggle it is when you are finally freed.
Wow. Right. It's one of the points that kind of similar to what we were just talking about in the last hour, when in the somewhat facetious comparison between Dead Prez and Killer Mike. I remember one of the key differences between those two is that Dead Prez used to talk about all the time the difficulty they had reaching their target audience, that the media structure, the music industry, all directed them to be more popular, if at all, among white audiences. And they had a hard time reaching their Black communities because urban radio, Black radio wouldn't play them. So when I hear you and many other activists saying what you're saying, it feels like a very similar problem, that the structure of our media environment, among other things, doesn't make it easy, despite all the technology and the whatever, to get messages to specific populations that have been themselves captured by other entities. So I don't necessarily have a question or a real point there, but it just was a thought that crossed my mind as I heard you saying again. And I know this is always a problem, the ability to reach Black communities with important messages when so much of their attention has been grabbed up by whoever else. So anyway.
I know that the media will talk. Of course, we all know this. They'll talk about when niggas doing something bad, right? When you shoot somebody, kill somebody, selling some drugs, they will put your picture, your mugshot all over the news. But when it's something where you need some help, when a system has done you wrong, I mean, they might run a quick story. I'm sure they have in Philly. I ain't there, of course, I don't know. I'm sure they have, but it is not something that they're going to loop, in their feed all day across the bottom, whatever that ticker thing is. They're not going to do all that. Because it's first of all, when even specifically hearing Sam's story, and I heard he was exonerated from death row, and that's amazing. My main question was, okay, so the CEOs was able to beat the hell out of him. Ain't nobody did nothing about it. So in his particular case, it is very much a situation where the system needs held accountable specifically for the abuse and the assault on him. It's not just the court messed up by wrongfully convicting him. That's a whole nother situation, and I deal with that every day. But the fact that these guards, these COs, these corrections officers almost killed him. And lastly, I want to say this. When I spoke to Sam, he told me after the situation, he didn't stop his activism. He kept, holding the system accountable best he could. He kept helping other people, and they did a few hunger strikes. And I've heard of this. Actually, right now, I think in an Alabama prison, there are some people on hunger strike. But Sam and some other folks on death row in Pennsylvania have done hunger strikes. And he said at one point, the prison went to court because, of course, they're thinking these people are going to die. They went to court and got a court order to feed them. Okay. And they did that with the tube, like if the liquid food or whatever. And he said when they put it in him, they put it in his lung and not in his esophagus to his stomach. So they almost drowned him. And that was funny. They didn't care. They basically had almost killed this man several times. I'm surprised he even heard it, honestly, because he's like, and then not only here, he's in his right mind, right? But so the system has tried to kill him several times, and that needs to be talked about. And when I was talking to some people, I say, yeah, his exoneration is great, but I want to talk about the trauma and the assault and abuse in prison and how they've been able to get away with that. And not just on a legal aspect, because I'm sure his attorneys are taking care of it, but just our people. I talk to people all the time that say, you get 3 hots in a cot. Men go to prison, they don't do nothing but call women to tell them send them money. And the prison wives shows and all that stuff that's always making fun of people in prison, etc. But we need to understand our people are being harmed in these systems. They're being traumatized, they're being abused. It's not just, the guys in prison are, looking to use women. I'm sure that happens. But more people don't talk about those aspects of the harm the system causes, but they love to look at the prison wives, whatever the hell the show is called, about people coming out and how they're having issues with their relationship. But they just been in prison for decades and they mentally messed up because of the trauma that prison caused. And we don't talk about that as much.
Right. So I'm not sure if the brother was able to join. But Diallo, let me hear you say the word here. Let me hear you say here.
Here.
Oh yeah, St. Louis better. Never mind. We good. She said her, and you said her, so.
Here.
Kansas City.
That's what I say. St. Louis bring down the whole state.
Y'all can fly somewhere now. Hey, but real quick, I want
been gone too long. He just been gone too long.
I want ML to answer this question, but also Jared.
I made it out. I'm a success
Jared to be great at answer this question. So, is monetary compensation more justification for continued capitalism? The hard question. Is that justice? So ML can answer that, but also Jared, I want you to chime in on that too.
Is monetary compensation more justification for continued? Oh, so in other words, if we just go ahead. I got you. Go ahead, ML. Go ahead.
Yeah, you getting me started. Okay, so well, here's the thing. If it wasn't for capitalism in the system, our people were first of all the first capital. When we talk about capitalism, I want to explain to people, you were the capital. You were the monetary. Before they had this green dollar, it was your ass on the block getting sold. So I don't even like the issue of capitalism is so like, I'm thinking about my people. I'm thinking about my people being bought and sold. I'm thinking about the ads in the paper talking about, us like we're some type of animal. And so that in itself tells me we don't need capitalism because we was the first fucking money. Right. But the compensation, again, most people are not capitalists. We are in the system and we got to work and deal and get a job, etc. But we don't own the production. We don't own the means. We don't own the resources. I mean, they're stealing them from the motherland anyway. So no, capitalism is not, or compensation for these issues is not a reason to continue capitalism. I want to, dismantle this entire thing, especially starting with capitalism, because that's where it started. When our people became the money, those are when all the problems began. So, and if we got rid of that, wouldn't nobody need compensation? We got rid of capitalism and the systems that, put people in prison, mass incarceration, make money off of us. We would not need any compensation because we wouldn't be up in them places anyway. So that's kind of my take on it. What do you think, Dr. Ball?
Ditto. That's it. That's it. I really have nothing to add other than I would just say that just to speak specifically to the question that, when people were given this idea that people give money, just like we were talking about last hour, this idea that if someone can come in and give money to help a certain situation, then isn't that evidence that the process by which they earn that money is justified? And no, obviously. So there is no balance here. So everything it was perfectly said. Why? The initial exploitation is what created the position that they're in to help out someone who is now suffering because of that situation, that process. So why would they get credit for that? But it does work that way. We hear a lot about philanthropy. It works that way, and it's meant to not only hide people's taxes, but to be a propaganda tool to walk people away psychologically from the struggle we need to engage. But sorry, go ahead.
It's like, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead,
he got selective hearing. This guy got selective hearing, I think.
Well, the thing is, it's as though
there
you can't participate and be a victim at the same time, as if participation and victimhood are exclusive. So I think Killer Mike is just, articulating another fallacy, meaning that if you're out here hustling, you're out here grinding, you're out here making money, then you're not a victim. That is extremely
and create, or that you're not creating more victims. Like
right.
You're out here you're so it's total nonsense. This,
right.
we gotta participate in it or just be crushed by it. And you're being crushed by it as you attempt to participate in it. It's
right. So I don't understand what participate or be a victim. Or you can participate and be a victim, or you can resist and be a victim.
Hey, like we saw in the documentary.
You have to. But you have to participate in the system right now. I mean, this is what it is, right? That reminds me like a fish in water. You know what I'm saying? Even if the fish didn't like the water at this moment, right? That's what they need to survive. So even if you are participating in capitalism, you don't have to harm anybody like us. You know what I'm saying? We're just working, struggling, trying to survive. We're not harming people, but there are people who are in the system that are harming folks, right? But we are just trying to survive. So even having to navigate capitalism in this system every single day does not negate the fact that we are still being, traumatized, oppressed, and we are victims of it. And when you mentioned philanthropy, Dr. Ball, we call that the NPIC, nonprofit industrial complex.
That's
and
right.
That is the hamster wheel that keeps us doing what we're doing, right? I would love not to be able to be in this particular work. I would love not to be re-traumatized myself because I'm fighting for niggas who on death row and they're about to kill. I would love for that not to happen. However, because our system is, the way that it is, and I'm in this nonprofit industrial complex world, I got to go beg basically white folks in order to give me some money so I can help the niggas where the white people system put them in there. But
it's like exactly, and it's very much like the documentary we saw last night. There's a scene where I forgot which one, but one of the brothers was talking about he had been put in solitary confinement, and as punishment for his work in his defense of someone else in the prison, the guards will come in there, and whenever they felt like it, and for at the beginning they would handcuff him and then beat him. So his response was, I'm not going to just let you handcuff me and beat me. So he said, I fought back. And my point that I'm making is he didn't change the fact that he was still locked up. He didn't change the fact that he was still incarcerated. What he changed was the way he engaged that situation. So, and it's not a judgment. It's just to say he engaged through fighting back. Others would engage through capitulation, maybe snitching, maybe complete collapse and acceptance of the trauma and that situation. But the point is that to suggest that there is only one method of response, and that the capitulation side or the acceptance side is the solution in the revolution is that's the mythology that bothers me so much. Like I understand why people make the decisions that they make, but I don't, even if I don't agree with them.
And what's even
but I
more
don't accept that one is better than one is the solution and one is the only path. Anyway,
but what's even more tragic than that is those people who do the participate. Their participation is a byproduct of resistance, and a byproduct of mass organization, and a byproduct of concessions made to the masses earned through resistance and sacrifice of other people. So even if you are an individual like Cuddly Mike, who want to say, well, I'm going to participate in capitalism, your ability to participate is still a byproduct and was born out of the struggle, not born out of the benevolence of capitalists, or born out of the benevolence of the racists, or born out of your own individual personal brilliance and perseverance. So even whether you submit and try to be a part of the system, you've only have those options available to you as a byproduct. And as mass struggle, as mass consciousness erodes, so does the opportunities for the sellouts who don't support and engage the struggle. Because we see a lot of those concessions made through mass struggle being repealed and reversed.
Anyway, so
go
ahead.
I'm sorry, Sam, like I said, he's new to this. He's in the YouTube chat, but he's not on the StreamYard. Again, he's been in prison 20 years, so we're gonna have to cut the brother some slack. But I just sent him the StreamYard chat link again, and hopefully he'll be on in a minute. I've dealt with so many people that's come home and don't know what to do with phones. You know what I'm saying? Like it's in this technology is very difficult for them to adjust. So that's one thing I've helped people with, trying to know how to use their phone, because it's just not easy. But yeah.
Yeah, no, it's no problem. I think that
here we go.
Here we go. There we go. Yep.
And I know the mocking killer Mike.
Welcome.
The mocking comments will come. What's up, brother?
All right. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Welcome.
Good morning.
No,
Happy to
pleasure.
join
It's
y'all.
a pleasure. Yeah. Right on. Welcome.
Thank you, Sam. How you doing?
All right. I'm doing all right. Making it. Today is one of my better days in terms of the pain. Set this up. I'm laying in the bed, so I'm on my side. 1 second. Trying to
it's all good.
She told us a good bit about the story, but I think maybe one of my first questions was this idea of like what was behind the inspiration of like fighting for one, maintaining your innocence. I know there was a couple times when they was like, just plead guilty, plead out, and you'll come home sooner. Like, what was some of the inspiration behind maintaining your innocence and also even struggling for your comrades inside the cell?
Oh, okay. So from day one, I always, spoke about my innocence. And so the minute I landed on death row, I jumped right in the law library and fighting, and I always believed that I could prove and establish that, right? So once I got there, they were notorious for assaulting prisoners and being very abusive out there in SCI Green in Pennsylvania. And on death row, it's only two places you can go: eastern side of the state and the western side of the state, because of our status. And so the minute I got there, I was just right in the midst. They just threw me right in the midst. They with the retaliation, if you fight and file grievances, that's what I always did, to stop the abuse and stuff. I shed light on it by fighting back and filing grievances and stuff. So that's what put a target on me. But yeah, I never wavered from my innocence, and that was just in me to fight back, fight against the system when you're being wrong, and that's what I did.
So when you said that could you say a little bit more about that initial? If I heard you correctly, you said that immediately once you're thrown in, there's the abuse is immediate, and sort of what we were just talking about a minute ago in terms of various responses people have to the trauma. Could you talk a little bit about that? So you're thrown into prison, and then like the police, the guard violence begins immediately, is what you're saying. You as a way, I guess, to indoctrinate you into what the situation is going to be, and then from the beginning, you're saying you set up a sort of resistance response to that, and that puts you in a pattern or a path to be targeted. Did I get that right? Am I hearing that correctly?
Absolutely, yep, you're right on point. So for me, the minute I was found guilty and convicted and sentenced to death, they're supposed to do to officially sentence you a pre-sentence investigation. Takes 60 days, and you'll come back. You'll come back to court. They officially sentence you when you await the local county while you're waiting that sentence. For me, from the courtroom, the day they came back with death, they immediately shipped me straight to death row. So I went to death row. When I got there, I was in a place called Camp Hill. I stopped in Camp Hill. It was a place called I was waiting to go to Green. That's where the official death row was. But the minute I'd even landed at Camp Hill, they didn't feed me that night. They play games like that, extremely racist. So I experienced that. And then if you when you fight back, say, what about my food? Or you start fighting about being, because they'll go right past your cell and starve you. Like, they don't care. And then you speak about your innocent and what you're going through. They say, yeah, everybody's innocent. Yeah, whatever. And they do stuff like that, right? But the minute I got out to SCI Green out there, where death row was, went on there. They come on, and a lot of the guards, not all of them, but a lot of them come to work. They can't wait till they get to work so they can like torture people. That's what they do. It's not enough that you're already there, and that's not their job, to come to work and try to abuse people. But a lot of them, especially on that western side of the state, it's trunk land. They come in there, and they hate prisoners. Just like they say, they can't wait to get to work to terrorize people, and that's what they do. They got bloody, notorious history for doing that. Not just against me, a lot of those prisoners in there, and they'll come to work, wake you up, and being on death row, it's isolation. So the only time you come out your cell is when you go to the yard. So a lot of them, like, what they like to do is take your yard from you, so you just remain isolated 24 hours a day. They fabricate stuff and make up stories. They come to work, and so I experienced it early on. Soon I got there. Once I seen it, once it was happening to me, that's when I started fighting back against it by filing grievances and stuff. That's what we had to do. We had to file grievances. So I was able to do that, and that's what became a target. And they really started targeting me for retaliation, for fighting back and standing up against it.
Man. Yeah. Diallo, you're muted. Yeah.
Yeah, so the sadism and the sadistic behavior of the guards, I mean, from your point of view, what do you think? That you think it was strictly rooted in racism or something beyond that?
I mean, when they use they don't got no problem calling you niggas and stuff like that. So a lot of that, they let you know they hate you because you black. They hate you because you went in jail. They don't even care. They think everybody's guilty in there. And you deserve whatever they do to you, you deserve it. So that's the mindset that you're going against in there.
And there was no oversight or regulation of their behavior.
Oh no, they deny all your grievances. I filed literally thousands of grievances, like literally thousands. And they're all designed. No matter what you say, evidence you present, they deny it. And the reason they do that is because they don't want to admit to anything, because a lot of people, we file lawsuits, anything they admit to, they know it's coming back in court, so they deny it. So it's bogus. Even the system, the oversight, when they review it, it's being reviewed by their colleagues that's part of it, or that, you know, they sanctioned it, so they just deny it, act like it didn't happen. Like in my particular case, because of death row status, it's just one example. Because death row status, security cameras everywhere, right? So they're taking me to the yard, and I'm handcuffed behind my back. This is when they assault me, right? The whole assault was caught on camera, right? When these people, instead of presenting that video, they said, "Oh, that video wasn't working. That camera was down that day." You know, because they was lying, because the whole assault, you know, it would show them assault me. I'm handcuffed behind my back and defenseless, and being assaulted by 3 officers, right? Banging my head into the wall. That's how I got injured, and they picked me up and slammed me to the ground. 2 of them landed on my back and spine. That's what caused the injuries. But they act like the video camera wasn't working. You know, we tried to file and get that produced, and they said, "Oh, that camera wasn't working." But anytime any camera goes down anywhere, they immediately fix it, especially on death row. But that day, they act like all of a sudden that camera wasn't working. But that's just little games and stuff they play like that. So
hey man, I know it don't mean much, man, but I just another additional round of apologies, and I feel terrible, man. Just my own little relatively little back issues, man. I can't even imagine what you must have to be going through and had to have gone through while in prison. Because even outside with full health care, back issues are a mess, and if they are created by violent injury, and then in that condition, I just think what you've had to endure is amazing. So I just want to shout out to you for more, you know, in addition to that. And I did want to ask you though, you know, in addition to Last Hour and to this special that we've been helping cover around here about the Pendleton 2 case, which is again similar. There's this similar thread I'm noticing about what encourages you all to respond that way. Like you mentioned when you get thrown into death row, you are welcomed into this new policy of abuse and situation of abuse. What was it that, how was it that you responded or resisted in the way that you did? Like, was there a network of support? Was there some sort of effort within the prison of organized prisoner response? Or was this just something that's just part of your own individual character? In other words, what helped you not succumb totally and just say, it is what it is, I just have to, you know, quietly accept it?
It's who I am. You know, when I'm being attacked, especially by oppression, you know, when it's wrong and it ain't justified, I definitely fight back, and that was always in me. That's actually what helped me survive. Is my mindset, you know, to keep fighting no matter what, right? No matter how hard it gets, and prove that. So that was the motivation. It was already in me to fight, and even today, even though I made it out, I still want to reach back and use my platform and utilize that to help others, you know, that I left there, because there's a lot of people in my situation, you know, that I left behind, and that's still part of me. So it's a passion of mine, always been, and that's what I want to continue to do. So yeah, it's just a part of who I am.
No, right on.
I wanted to add something real quick about Diallo's comment concerning, you know, accountability, et cetera, with the system. And I wanted to bring everybody back a little bit. We remember in '94 when Clinton passed the crime bill, right? And we remember, you know, that time was horrible. But there were other bills, you know, criminal law bills passed during that time. And one of them is called a PLRA, Prison Litigation Reform Act. And that particular law, and shout out to Mumia, Free Mumia, he wrote about this bill. He wrote about this law in a book that I've read several times. But that particular bill law basically stopped a lot of incarcerated people from being able to, you know, litigate on their behalf. They started saying, oh, this is frivolous. You know, people in prison suing over silly stuff. But that wasn't it. A lot of people in prison were suing over their rights, their abuse, etc. But when the PLRA passed, it stopped people from being able to file certain suits. It said that you had to go through the entire administrative process in the prison, which can take years to do all of those, complaints. So that one, I think PLRA was, in 96, if I'm not mistaken. But that one particular law harmed so many people. And again, if you all have not read the book, is it the Prisoner's Law Handbook? I think Mumil's book is called. I can't remember the title, but he wrote a book about this issue, and it is an amazing read. More jailhouse lawyers back at that time, 80s and 90s, were getting people out of prison. But today that's less prevalent because they are limited in being able to file suit, which means now people like Sam, other people who are being abused on the inside don't have a lot of recourse because they can't even litigate on their own for the most part. So I just wanted to throw that in there as well.
All right, on. I think this is the book you're talking about, if I'm not mistaken.
The funny story about this book, when I checked it out in the prison, and you can keep the book, I think 2 weeks, I can't remember, but you have to check it back out, take it back and check it out. When I took it back to the prison library to check it out again, the staff member, white man, told me, "Oh, this is a reference book. You weren't supposed to be able to take it out. You can only read it inside the library." It wasn't marked as reference, nothing. So I was like, okay, fine. So he wouldn't let me take it. So I ended up having someone order me one and mailing it in. But that is an amazing book to really understand the legal processes in prison and what people incarcerated, how they're hindered. That is an amazing read.
Yeah. By the way, I didn't want to take up too much time and distract from the discussion, but ML, you mentioned something a little while ago in the conversation about the coverage of Samuel's case. And I just did a quick ProQuest search while we were sitting here. And according to that search on the name Samuel Randolph, as opposed to Sam per se, there's nothing that comes up newer than 2011. So I don't, that's not exhaustive or scientific. It's just a quick one-time search, but just in terms of the lack of the discussion that you were talking about earlier and the need to promote and to raise up these issues, even in this environment of all this media and all these podcasts, everybody got a YouTube, everybody got a this. It's very hard to get these issues enough attention. So. Yeah. Anyway,
they're not glamorous.
So
No.
So, brother Sam, I was going to bring that question up. Yeah. So, what was there any? What's the demographics of the black pigs or officer? Was there black people involved in terms of the assault? And did you feel like you had any, I guess, allies or help with people that work in the prison systems at all?
There was no black officers involved in attacks. And well, let me correct that. Once I left Green, the only other place I can go was on the eastern side of the state towards Philly. Once I got there, they some of those guards were black, and it was like it was one entity. So, it was the state prisons. There was 20-some prisons, so no matter where you went, it's one entity. So some of them picked up on where the other officers left off, right? And with the assaults and stuff. So I was assaulted later by other officers. Sometimes it was another officer, like it would be a good officer or a black officer to come, and they seen that I was being starved or something. But they had to be careful because the other officers attack them, but they'd like give me some food sometimes or help me like that. It was a couple black officers like, look, man, I'm just here I'm not against you. I'm just here to make money for my family. I just happen to be a correctional officer, but I'm not with that nonsense they're doing to you. Here's a tray. Eat, brother. Or like that, right? So sometimes I would encounter that because some of the officers were from Philly, once I got transferred. So I'll run into good officers like that, right? But I was also attacked by some black officers, right? When I was in Philly over there. Yeah. So.
And forgive me if this is if I'm inviting repetition, but what is the state of your healthcare now? Like, do you have coverage? Is it all the crowdfunding support? Like what's the state of all of that?
Okay, so when I came home after 22 years, right? Came home, I went from when I was released, they had to take me straight to Hershey Medical Center. I didn't have no insurance or anything, so I had to sign up for like the local like welfare assistance insurance. So that's what I got. And I was trying to go and get the surgery immediately, right? But I had trouble getting that. When I arrived at that hospital, their concern was you don't got no insurance, who's going to pay for that? But now that I got that insurance, it's still like an uphill battle because whenever I'm transported, for example, I have to be on a gurney because I can't sit up or get into a wheelchair. So a lot of that stuff has to be approved when I try to call it in. And so I'm basically confined to the bed. I got that insurance, but I can't take that outside of Pennsylvania, for California. So, they say insurance won't cover that. And I had problems trying to find a doctor to do it here from Pennsylvania. I've been trying, right? And so what happened was, like Michelle said, when we did the first GoFundMe, when I came home, doctors from California said, as our contribution, we'll do that surgery for free. And I've been trying to get out there since. And if those links are part of that GoFundMe and the history and stuff of the case, right? Maybe I could send that link, that specific GoFundMe.
Yeah, we got the link. We
do?
got the link, and we'll make sure it's in the show description. We've been putting it in the chat already. But just so I'm clear, because somebody had asked, Franny French, I believe, was asking, can we get you to Cuba to get the surgery there on their healthcare system, which is something like that considered? But if you're saying the doctors in California will do it for free, is it really then just an issue of getting you the proper travel accommodations and a flight out there? Is that
Yeah. Oh, so yeah. Great question. So here's what it is. So the doctors out there said there's other costs that's associated with the surgery that they can cover. For example, the flight. After I get cleared from the surgeon, I can't stay in the hospital, so I got to transition out into a rehab center. Then,
right, because they can't cover the cost of the hospital after the stay at the hospital. They can't afford.
Right.
Right.
Transition now, go to a rehab center, then physical therapy. They say I'm gonna learn how to walk again. It's gonna take anywhere from 3 to 6 months. They're saying it's gonna take months. So they're gonna have to find a place to put me up, food, shelter. And my insurance won't cover none of this because in California, I can't go on the California system because I'm not even a resident out there.
So they can't fly you out there, get the surgery, then fly you back to Pennsylvania for all the post-op care and all of that. It's even as I'm saying that, as it should sound like a solution, it should not have to be a solution. All of this is so absurd. But yeah, I'm just trying to think of all of some of the questions I see coming up in the chat, and then also just all of the different ways that this is a flawed arrangement. But
yeah, I'm willing to go. Yeah. I travel.
Well, yeah,
right. Yeah. Surgery. Yeah, it's going on 14 years. I'm constantly in. And I'm willing to go and travel. That's why I didn't hesitate when California stepped up and the doctors out there. I said I sure will fly to California. So yeah, I go to Cuba, anywhere that they're willing to do the surgery, capable and qualified. Let's do it out there. They said they do those surgeries all the time. They do like 5 a week, and they got approach. They said we only got to tear your back open all crazy. We're going to actually go in through your stomach. They explain the whole process.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my bad. I had a similar discussion at one point, and they break it. It's really wild what they can do when they want to do it.
Right. So they said we can go in through your stomach like a C-section down there at that pelvic. We'll hit you there, cut you open, move those vessels out the way, move your intestines to the side. The spine is right there. Once they do that, it's less invasive. They decompress the spine. My injuries is at L4 and L5 of my.
It's supposed to leave you with less scarring and everything too.
Exactly. They said it only takes an hour and it's very successful. So the surgery that they do them all the time. And I was happy and excited about it. Like, wow, I was a little nervous because I never had no surgeries, right? They like, don't worry, we do these all the time, and they're very successful. And this is the least invasive. We going through the stomach. We can fix that and get you back on your feet. When I was on death row, I actually filed 4 lawsuits, but they tried to settle, but I wouldn't settle with them because all they offered me was they said 15,000. That's commissary money. You could be able to go to the store. No medical though. Why would we fix that when you're on death row? We're getting ready to kill you, right?
Wow.
I was speaking about my innocence. They didn't want to hear none of that. They were like, whatever. You get ready to die. Why would we waste money on fixing you and we get ready to kill you? You know, that just made me fight even harder though. And like Michelle mentioned, was no joke, but they really was trying to kill me. They force fed me 11 times in a 3-day span. This is how vicious they was, right? And because I was one of the ones that fight, what they try to do is say, okay, we're going to get a court order and we're going to botch that procedure and act. We can stand behind that court order. It's a legal court order to force feed, but we just happen to botch the procedure. I'm sorry. So that was their plan, right? So they had me chained to the bed, chained the shackle to the bed, because they kept promising, "Oh, we're gonna get you. You like fighting. We got something for you." Once they because I would never eat their food. They were spitting in my food, spraying chemicals on it, disinfected. So I would never eat the jail's food. I had my own food and healthy stuff that I got in, or my mom would send me a box of food. So they was mad I would never eat their food, and they wanted me to eat their food. So by law, you can only force feed someone to preserve life. You can't, if they're not on their deathbed because you don't like them, you can't force feed them, right? It has to be a need to preserve their life, right? So when I refused, so what they did was say, let's separate him from his food, where he can't, his stockpile, he can't get to that, and make him eat our food. Well, he's not going to eat it, so we can go to court and get a court order, and then we just botched the procedure. So what they did is, when they had me chained and they kept saying, we got something for you, we gonna get you. So they lied to secure the court order. Once they got the court order, they lied like I was on my deathbed, right? So what they did, they deliberately, they perforated my lungs. Instead of putting it in my stomach, they put it directly in my lungs to drown me. They were drowning me, right? And was just pouring fluid into my lungs. So I'm on the bed trying to fight, and I'm chained down though. And it was vicious. Yeah, but they did it 11 times in 3 days, right? And I never needed to be force fed, but that was them trying to, murder me. That's how vicious they was. They hated me so much because they couldn't break me, and I kept fighting. And by the grace of God, they didn't kill me, right? But they tried to several times. That's just one example of the, there's definitely some torturous stuff that I did endure over the course of these almost 22 years, right? So, yeah, it's vicious. So that just makes me continue to fight against that, right? That oppression, abuse, and injustice. Yeah.
Yes.
Look, I don't even know what to say. It's an honor to get to talk with you a little bit. We will continue to support in any way we can. We will share the links. As soon as we wrap up, I'm gonna go click it and put 5 on it myself. And Michelle, thank you very much for continuing to bring these stories to us and doing the work that you're doing. I mean, and any time we can be of help on this platform, just obviously let us know, and we'll keep doing what we can do. It's infuriating, and again, Samuel, thank you. It's an honor to get to rap with you, and I appreciate you. And best of luck going forward. And keep us in your loop or whatever. And you're always welcome to come back. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank all y'all for having me, and thank Michelle. So we're gonna talk and continue to talk. I'm gonna call you. I just thank everybody. Thank for all the love and support and all donations. I just thank everybody.
And Dr. Ball, thank you so much. And I'm, as you always end the show, I was just thinking, and that quote by Chairman Fred, Sam was willing to fight for his peace. You know what I'm saying? He was, what I'm saying? We say that all the time. I say it all the time too, but this is a person he fought for his life, and he fought for that peace. So I'm going to do what I can to, keep helping him and making sure that there is going to come a day where he's able to walk again. So thank you all for having us on.
Yeah, no doubt. And if we could just get Diallo to stop burning all these bridges to these bigger media platforms and these bigger celebrities, we might be able to do some more work. He just keep pushing all these buttons.
We can't help it.
One click.
We this close to freedom, and then Diallo just keep antagonizing these folks. And it's just,
one click away from the liberation. click your liberation.
We cannot listen. We Scorpios, we extra by nature. He can't help it. He really
blame
can't.
It on the stars.
Blame it.
We're gonna change our name to Click Your Liberation. So Diallo, you get right. Just one click and we got it.